I have a simple question. Why do we procrastinate? I'm there at the right hour that I told myself that I would be. I sit down, I'm in front of the computer, I'm going to work on this assignment. That's very important to me. But I hear a tiny voice in like this back corner of my head that says, check what's happening on Instagram. Check what's happening on YouTube. Just for a few minutes. And I feel it in my body. The anxiety of the assignment, the weight, the pressure, and then this thing that's asking me to go find an escape. And it just says 2 minutes. So I give in and I jump in and I go and open YouTube. And I fall. And I fall deep. And this happens every single day. Recently I tracked how much time I lose in these distractions. And for the week that I measured, it was 12 hours. That hurt. That hurt a lot because in those 12 hours, imagine how many of the other goals that I could have done that I just didn't. And that was both painful and eye-opening to know that 2 and 5 minutes is not just 2 or 5 minutes. It's actually much more. There are these algorithms that are built in YouTube and Instagram, built to suck me in. They're like vacuum cleaners. They suck me in. And not only that, my body aids them in that when I see those videos and see the content, it's actually fun and it produces chemicals, dopamine, in my body. My body helps them suck me out of my tasks. And I remember when I first started doing this, maybe in 2018, I tried to do something and it was very difficult and the anxiety would just push me towards these social media apps. And I was really angry at myself. I was like, how could you be like this? I was so angry at myself. I was even abusive to myself, calling myself useless, you're never going to do anything in your life, spending time like this. I did some research and later on, thankfully, I found that I couldn't be too hard on myself because biologically, we are wired to procrastinate. That's kind of crazy. I'll get into the why, but let me give you an example. Or some theory first. The body is built to operate on the minimal amount of energy that there is possible. Right? And so what that means is that the body has a natural tendency to be lazy, to not do things that are energy consuming, right? And on top of that, in this day and age, most of us are knowledge workers in that we don't work physically anymore. We work using our minds. And the mind, despite only occupying 2% of body mass, consumes 20% of all energy. And it spikes up when we are doing these difficult tasks like writing proposals, creating a marketing campaign, doing our accounting, doing research. All of these are intensive on the mind. And that means the mind spikes up on its energy consumption and the body has to keep sending more energy to the mind. And the body does not want to do that because it is built to consume as little energy as possible. So that tiny voice that I hear in my head is actually triggered most likely by the body. It actually uses this carrot and stick mechanism to tell the mind to stop using energy. So it sends a carrot. It's like, hey, go check out what's happening on Instagram. And then when I see this video that's recommended to me of like a cat doing something cute, again, it's like this, go down there. Because these activities are actually reduce the mind's consumption. It lets the body and mind be lazy. And the body likes that. So it rewards such actions with dopamine. And this is well documented. It's called the dopamine reward system. And we have to ask this question at this moment. why is the body so hell-bent on keeping energy consumption as low as possible? We can't take it for granted. Like, why is the body like that? And it's because the body actually evolved over a much longer period of time, millions of years ago. Until maybe 200, 300 years ago, there was a huge energy shortage. People were dying because they couldn't get access to food. And so the body was just built. And imagine, that's just 200, 300 years ago. Imagine 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 years ago. There was a huge energy shortage. But in the last 100 years, because of industrial mass manufacturing, energy is not an issue anymore. In fact, we have quite the opposite. We have obesity pandemics in many countries. And what that means is that there's an abundance of energy. But the body still acts as if there's an energy shortage. The body hasn't adapted to the times. And that sucks. And we pay the price for it. But fortunately for us, we are human beings. And our outstanding trait is self-consciousness. That is, we can become aware of what's happening and then make changes to adapt to those changes. We can see what's going on. For example, just giving an example. When we hear that little voice, that is an automatic response. But we actually have the potential to listen to that voice and make a choice. Do I give in or do I not give in? To work through this entire logic, okay, it doesn't make sense. The body is acting from a perspective of energy shortage. It is outdated. I can override that. And then you can override it, right? We actually have the potential to do it. It is not natural. It is not the default system. Because by default, the body is stronger and we automatically give in to the body's, carrots. But we have the potential to say no to the carrot. It's like, hey body, I understand you intend well, but you are not keeping up with the times. I'm doing that and I'm going to override you. We have the potential to do that. And it is not easy because dopamine feels amazing, right? And so it's like to consciously not to give in to dopamine is not an easy thing to do. But it is possible. I think when it comes to overriding dopamine, we just have to look at the best athletes in our society. Like Cristiano Ronaldo, Djokovic, Virat Kohli, all of these individuals have gotten to where they are because they have overridden their body's impulses, natural responses, and they don't hide it. They're very open about it. Let me just give you an example from what Cristiano said in an interview on YouTube. How did I know that? So he said something along the lines of, my main strength is my mind. Consistency is the most difficult thing. Just doing the same things every day. Do I like to go to the gym every day? Of course not. But I fight against my mind. That is the big challenge. It is when I'm not willing to do something, but I still do it. I use my mental strength in those hard moments. And so you can see it clearly here. He wants to go to the gym. He's made a commitment to himself. He wants to get out of bed and go to bed and get to the gym. But his body says no. Because it knows the energy consumption is going to spike up and it doesn't want him to do that. Right? But Cristiano Ronaldo knows that he has the ability to override the body's thing and get to the gym. And that is why he says, I use my mental strength. Now, this is not easy to develop, but it is entirely within our potential. And in today's world, as we have to compete against artificial intelligence and people using artificial intelligence to the best that they can, we have to level up our game. That means overriding these body signals and doing what is necessary to up our game. And I have been struggling with this problem for a very long time. I'm pretty sure I first noticed it in 2018. When I tried to do my first startup, I had to be extremely disciplined. And I couldn't, I was failing miserably. And so I built a tool using software to help me with this process. Because the first part of this overriding mechanism is to understand what is the actual cost. It is to quantify the cost. For example, right, me just knowing that I spend 12 hours a week getting distracted, that put it into perspective for me. The next time when I get like this nagging sensation to go after YouTube or Instagram, I know for a fact, I have measured it, and I know that the 5 minutes is actually 12 hours. And so once I know that, it's much easier for me to say no. So that is the first part. It is to quantify the costs. Okay? And to understand the shortage that we have today is not energy shortage. It is a time shortage. Right? So we have to start measuring things in terms of time costs instead of energy cost. In a recent interview on YouTube, Elon Musk says that time is the only currency there is. And that's really funny for somebody like him to say that. Because he says the only thing he can spend, that he has to spend, is his time. The only thing that he has that he can spend is his time. And this guy is in charge of spending $3 billion every single week. So, no matter how much money we make, we're all fundamentally limited by the same thing, which is the number of hours that we have. And in today, that is a shortage. That is a scarcity. And so we have to understand the impact of all our activities in relation to its time cost. And so I built a tool to understand this, understand the time cost. And the second aspect of this is that despite this body naturally biased towards making us lazy, we still get tasks done, right? Our teacher, professor tells us, finish something, and most of us manage to finish it before the deadline. Even though we do the majority of the work in the last 3 or 4 hours before the deadline, we still manage to do it. It can be our boss, it can be our professor, anybody else. How? Why? And you're like, obviously, because my boss, he's gonna get mad at me, or my professor, he's gonna fail me, and I'm not gonna get my degree. And that's obvious, but why? The reason is, once we make a social agreement with somebody that we're gonna do something, right? There are inbuilt body mechanisms, again, that are built to make sure that we keep those agreements. Like, for example, if you tell somebody that you're gonna do something and you don't do it, right? That person is not gonna be happy with you, obviously. But here's the interesting part. When you see that person again, you are gonna feel bad in your body. Your body is gonna react to you not having kept your word. And so this is really powerful. On the one side, the body wants you to consume as little energy as possible. But on the other side, your body and mind want you to have social validation. That is, be in good social standing with everybody around them. So what we can do, right? You can think of this energy, reduce energy consumption, increase social validation. The two opposing forces, or two other forces. But we can use this to push this down. It is still strong, maybe not, it can't go fully down, but we can reduce its power by using social validation and bring it down. And so what I mean by this is that it's simple. If you want to do something, for example, this whole week, you want to reduce your sugar consumption, right? Let's say you're measuring it, how many calories, how many grams of sugars that you're having, and you want to keep it less than, let's just say, 200 grams this entire week. If you want to do that, there are two ways that you can do it. One is make an agreement with yourself. Two is to make an agreement with your friend or a couple of friends. And you know the answer. In which situation are you more likely to maintain your agreement? In the second one. Because now, at the end of the week, your friend may ask you, hey, remember that thing that you told me? Did you actually do it or not? And if you say no, your friend might not react to it, but you are gonna feel a down in your social standing with your friend. He or she is gonna perceive you as that person who does not maintain the agreements, and that is a low value person. And you lose some of that social validation, and your mind and body will react to it. So you can use that force to override the body. So that's all for this video. I hope you enjoy.